Good morning, Canberra, for Cam's Mortgage Minute on Tuesday, October the 9th. Hey, with the market being slower and mortgage rules being tougher, one of the questions I'm frequently asked is about rent to own. Do rent to owns make a lot of sense? Well, they're really very individual, but here's what I can tell you about them from past experience and having dealt with clients who've entered into them. You need to get good legal advice. That's the bottom line. Do your homework, do your due diligence, make sure your contract is thoroughly reviewed and you know what you're getting into. Some of the pitfalls and challenges that can happen with them are as follows. First off, usually with a lot of these scenarios, you've got a predetermined purchase price right from the start. So again, in a rising market, that's wonderful. You as a buyer is going to come out ahead. But in the market we're in right now, with it being relatively flat or declining, it's pretty hard to guess what values are going to be in 12 or 24 months. So if you agree on a price up front, you have to be mindful that that price may decline and you may have a very hard time getting a mortgage. Another facet is that you should definitely know where your credit's at. A lot of people enter into these without ever having checked out their credit. Bottom line is you need to know if you're going to qualify for a mortgage in that time frame. And if you aren't, what steps you need to take along the way to make sure that you do. Because you, chances are, have also put up a large deposit. That's a very common factor with them as well. Usually the seller wants some kind of a cash deposit up front. If not, there'll be a larger monthly rental component that'll have a cash down payment built into it as well. So again, your money is going out on a monthly basis, so you want to be totally certain that when the contract is up and the option is there to be exercised, that you can qualify for that mortgage and your money isn't forfeited. I've had someone call me about 2 months ago. It was a lady, she was in great distress. She had entered into one of these, and unfortunately her job transferred her, and bottom line is she entered into one of these rent-to-owns, and she had put up $25,000. And the way the contract was written, there was no provision for her to get it back. She was at the mercy of the seller, and luckily for her, the guy was a decent guy, and he said, well, you know what, I'll give you half back. I can't give it all back to you. So that worked out positive for her. It doesn't always end that way. But the key with it is that I asked her, I said, did you get a lot of legal advice when you entered into this? She said, no, I thought it was relatively simple. It isn't. If you were buying a house under normal circumstances, you would always employ the services of a lawyer. This should be no different. Get advice. And as far as the credit side of it and the other risk side, what you have to do is get a hold of somebody like myself, Cam the Mortgage Man here at the Auxilium team. We can go through your credit. We can make sure that at least there's a plan for you to have an exit here, an exit strategy, and that you can complete on this purchase at the end. Another thing to consider is this the house you're going to want to live in the future? People do have a tendency to change their minds. So bottom line is, if you're going to enter into one of these agreements, be really crystal clear that this is the property you want. And again, the big elephant in the room, as I said before, is that nobody knows what the values are going to be down the road. So is the agreement you're entering into allow for, let's say, a reappraisal or a reassessment of the purchase price? How ironclad is it? So these are things that you definitely want to be certain of. For a lot of you who are contemplating this, you've taken, let's say, a large savings. It could be through an inheritance, could be a gifted down payment, or it just could have been hard work and money you set aside. You don't want to risk losing this, because if you do, you're basically starting at square one, or actually back at square one, because it's tough to put all that money together again. So, end of the day, what's the bottom line? Get legal advice. Do your legwork, do your research. Check everything out. You don't want to be in a rush on one of these things. You want to make sure that it's the right place, right price, right deal. Everything has to be good. Anyways, if you want, like I said, some a look at your credit, you want us to have a look at the situation, I'd be happy to share my thoughts with you. Give us a call. It's Cam the Mortgage Man. Anybody here at the Auxilium team would be happy to help you out. Hopefully you learned a few things, and like I said, I'll see you tomorrow, and I look forward to sharing some new things with you then.